I may have made a pretty serious and unfortunate mistake. So I was planning to do this amazing series of videos on how to train for an ultramarathon from week 0 to race week, which for me would be week 18. I was about to start recording the week 1 video today. I'm on week 4, but I was going to recap and talk about all the great weeks of training, and we might have thrown things off the rails entirely by accident. Let's start at the beginning and talk about exactly how not to start training for an ultramarathon, because that is what I've done. I started off with something even sillier than an ultramarathon training plan, which is a running streak. A running streak, if you're not aware, is literally just the practice of running every day, at least a mile, for as long as you want to. Today's my last day. Sadly, I made it 150 something days. I don't know the exact count. Don't really want to look because I'm sad about it, but I made it over 150 days of training every day, running every day, and the only reason I stopped is because I literally medically cannot keep going. So during those 150 plus days of training, I traveled a bunch. I did at least 7 miles a week by definition, but usually at least 10. Some weeks a lot more than 10 miles, some weeks just the bare minimum. And I had this goal of doing an ultramarathon, a 50K, in this coming January, so I knew I had, from the point that I wanted to start training, about 20 weeks. So I did my last week of the streak, that was week 20, counting down. And then week 19, which became week 0 of my training for the ultramarathon. I know the numbers don't make sense, but count down versus count up, you flip them. Let's just call it week 0. Week 0, I started doing the base version of my ultramarathon training program. I basically did about half of the runs that I was programmed to do for week 1 of the training program and built in a little bit more rest being a short run. Week 0 definitely felt harder than I think it probably should have. That was probably my first clue that I should have taken things a bit slower. I felt really tired going into week 1, my legs felt tired, my body felt tired. And I thought, you know what, it's just new training, it's new intensity, I'll catch up. I'm actually going to put the training program on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. And I think I have clips and some workout analysis from Garmin, from the app that they have to show you. So I'll put those up as they become relevant. It's a lot of running. If you're going from a 10-ish mile week to this, which is almost 30 immediately, that's a lot to do. I didn't think it was crazy. I thought I could do it. I thought I could do it without rest days. I thought I could just adapt as I needed to. I think there were a total of 2 or 3 runs that I actually didn't fully complete throughout the entire program so far. But week 1, I was on it. I showed up, did all the runs. I did them a little bit faster than I should have, but slowed down towards the end of the week. That long run, I went super slow and just got the distance done. It was relatively uneventful, but then week 2 happened, and that's where things started going downhill. I had 3 one-hour long runs in a row. On the second day, I wore super shoes. Super shoes, if you're not familiar, are a pair of running shoes with very explosively powerful cushioning and usually a carbon or plastic plate in the shoe. I wore the Nike Zoom Tempo Next Percent, which is a great shoe. Nothing wrong with the shoe itself. I wore it on what should have been a much more chill run than I had, and I pushed really, really hard during that run. I also did it on hills, which is this is just layers of stupid, is wearing a fast shoe for a slow run, going fast in the fast shoe, and doing it on hills. And so I woke up the next day, started my 3rd 1-hour run in a row, and my right calf just went. Immediate calf strain, basically. It wasn't horrible. I stopped running. I think I did a total of a mile. I didn't stop the streak. I think I took that day and then 2 days after it doing just a mile a day. I had a 2-hour long run that weekend, which I did. I was I'm gonna take it easy. I'll take it slow. I didn't take it easy. I didn't take it slow. I got a new PR in the half marathon, and I went much further than I thought I would. So you can see this pattern building of how not to train for an ultramarathon. 1, don't build distance too fast. 2, don't go too fast when you shouldn't be. And 3, give injuries the time they need to heal. Don't jump back on it right away and start pushing. Let's get into week 3. Week 3 felt fine at first. I actually changed up the order of some of the runs so I could run with one of my friends for his run. And it was amazing. It felt great overall. The super long run of the week I did on hills, and that was very hard, but it felt good. I ran 16 miles plus, which is the furthest I've ever gone in a single run, and it was amazing. So I came off that feeling like I could do anything. Even though I was limping up and down stairs, I was limping around because my legs hurt so much because I didn't take the time to recover. Week 4, most of it was okay. Rest day, which was a mile because I don't take rest days, recovery run for an hour, 45-minute run, 1 mile distance of choice run, an hour and 10 minutes of intervals is where I went wrong. I did the hour and 10 minutes of intervals. This was the first proper speed workout I did during this entire training cycle. And I went pretty hard. I was going sub 7 pace during the intervals where I was on, and during the off times I was going at a 9-ish pace, which is relatively chill, but not super chill. I remember sitting down in this chair immediately after that run. I had some water and I got up to start making food to eat. And as soon as I got up, I cried out in pain because my legs hurt so much. My glutes hurt, my hamstrings, what are these? what's the back thing called? That's your hamstring. My thighs, my calves, everything was just in pain. And I was like, this is normal. Like, this is fine. I am totally fine to keep running. You know, we'll just let the legs rest. I did a 30-minute recovery run and the legs hurt, but I was like, this is muscle soreness. Then we come to yesterday. I was programmed for an hour-and-a-half long run. I did 15 minutes of it. The run felt normal to start. Normal being pain, soreness, and fatigue, which is not how all runs should be. Like, I feel like that's a portion of running, is definitely training when you're tired. But this had become a theme for me where, like, every run I was like, I'm not recovered enough. The beginning of week 4, I felt recovered enough because I started sleeping more and it was great, but I pushed too hard and that was my mistake. I got 15 minutes in and I started getting this shooting pain from like my right lower back down through my right glute. Usually when things start to hurt, I just keep going. You know, like running, if you've done it for long enough, I don't know what your experience is, but I've had a lot of random pains that start up out of nowhere during a run. I keep running, I usually give it about a mile, and they go away within a mile. If they don't go away, I stop. This one was so bad that I stopped within 2 minutes of it starting to happen. And I actually called my mom first. I was like, this is really weird. This pain is super intense. I don't know what to do. I want to keep running. I don't know if I can. She suggested that I walk for a minute, see what was going on, just kind of assess it, and maybe start running again if I felt like I could. So I started to walk, took literally 1 step back into running, and it was like, boom, immediate, like an arrow hit me in the glutes. It was just horrible. So I walked home. I was like 2 miles out from my house and I just kind of like limped home. It's like a weird walk of shame when you're a runner walking home from a run. I saw so many other runners out there just like doing their thing, having a great morning, and I was like, I wish I was doing that right now. I'm so sad I have to deal with this. And I thought it would be just like every other little thing I've dealt with so far in this training cycle, like the calf strain. You give it a couple days off, and then you start running again and you just deal with it. It either goes away or it comes back a bit, you take a couple days off, and then you're back on. Later in the day, I got on a call with someone who's a physical therapist, and they said, basically, I have all the symptoms of a pelvic stress fracture. And that's really bad news. Like, out of all the different things, like all the random running injuries you can have, that's a pretty unfortunate one. So the recommendation was to go get an x-ray quickly and like see what was up, but that may or may not show anything. And then I might have to move on to an MRI or a CT scan, like all kinds of different workups. I didn't want to get that done. It's so much time that I could be spending doing everything else I like to do. This is not medical advice. Don't do this with your body. Like, get it checked out if you need to. What I kind of decided was, if this is a muscle strain or if this is a bone issue, like it's kind of like there are 2 options. The treatment is the same. It's time off, it's alternative forms of training, it's some cross training, and then getting back into running gradually. So with some advice from my dad, who's been an athlete for a really long time, who also took care of patients for a long time, we decided that taking 2 weeks off and then easing back in is the way to go. That might have to extend to 6 weeks and some more imaging if it doesn't get better. And I'm not too mad about this, to be honest. Like, the point of doing the running streak, the point of doing these ultramarathons, not the only goal, but one of the big ones was to find out where my limits are and then to surpass them. So if the limit was my pelvis breaking under the strain of me running so hard that it literally cracked, and I pushed through that and I kept going up until the point that it started hurting so bad I couldn't keep going physically, I'm proud of that. You know, like, that's a weird thing to be proud of, I guess. But if that's the case, I feel good about that in a bizarre kind of way. Like, I'd rather be running, but if I truly pushed my body to the point where I cannot push it any further right now without doing something really wrong to it, I'm pretty happy with that. However, the one thing I really want to get out of this is that no one makes the same mistake if they can help it. So I wanted to sit down today and talk to you about the mistakes that I made during my training process that led me to this point. As I said earlier, the #1 mistake was most likely building too much distance too early. I don't really blame the training program I picked. I did just pick a random one from the internet, maybe not the best decision, but I've been running for 13 years plus. And I feel like I know what I'm doing, and I also have input from people who are also athletes in this space, and they were like, that's fine, like, you should be okay. It was a little bit much in terms of mileage, and I was definitely pushing it. I didn't even think that the bone could give out before, like, my muscles or my willpower did, but it might have. Indeed, that seems to be what's happened here. So building distance too quickly is always a big no-no. I encourage you, if it's your first time running, talk to a coach, talk to someone who's a professional. If you're experienced, be very, very careful with what you're doing. I should have been a lot more considerate of the program I was doing from day one. Number two, like I said before, is to take your runs at the pace they're supposed to be taken at. If it's a chill, long run, do a chill, long run. Don't strap up your fastest shoes and start blasting it. There's a really cool philosophy going around these days, which is run slow to run fast. It's this whole idea that if you do a lot of your training at a slower pace, you're going to build your aerobic base, and when it comes time to race, you'll be much faster than if you ran super fast or moderately fast for all of your training. The idea basically is to take your slow runs very slow and your fast runs very fast. I haven't read the literature, but I've talked to people who have, and I've talked to people who've done this, and their times and endurance drastically improve. They run better, faster, for longer. I didn't do that. I thought I was doing that because I took some runs slow, but I also just didn't do it enough. And number three, this is the biggest one that I've learned because I didn't think it applied to me necessarily, was take rest days. Run streaks are absolutely possible. There are a ton of amazing people doing amazing run streaks. That doesn't exempt you from the rule of taking downtime when you need it. Because I built up distance so quickly and I ran faster than I should have and I didn't take any rest days, this was inevitable. I was kind of aware that something was going to give. I thought it would be like a minor thing like the calf strain. I thought that was it. I thought like, okay, yeah, my calf is not 100%. We'll take care of that and then my body's going to be great. That was the weak point. That wasn't the weak point. So with those three things in mind, if I could start again from day one, I would absolutely take the days off that I needed to. I would pick a program that is a gradual ramp up. I might have started earlier. I would have done like a 24-week plan instead of an 18-week plan. And I would be very, very considerate of my actual pacing during the runs. There's always in the back of my head this pressure, which is not a bad pressure, but I guess not effective at the end of the day, to run quicker. I love going fast. The goal for me is to do marathons very quickly, to potentially do ultramarathons very quickly. And so I always want to pick up the speed. It's going to take some work to get rid of that voice in my head that just wants to like go fast, but I have at least 2 weeks off to make sure that when I get back into running, I'm ready to do it the right way. I sincerely hope that if you're doing any kind of running training, this experience I've had is insightful for you and maybe prevents you from doing something that could get you injured. My number one goal with my platforms, I have a lot of different goals, of course, but with all of my social media presence is to make a positive impact on other people's lives. If my impact today is that one of you sees this and is like, I'm going way too hard for my body right now, I need to chill out a little bit, I hope you learn from my experience and you spare yourself the pain and the time off. In any event, I will be doing the entire recovery process on here and on my other socials. If you want to see how I'm going to bounce back from this, definitely follow along. And once I'm back to running properly, it's back to running content. I've been so excited to make running YouTube videos and I'm so bummed that I can't right now, but I'm even more excited to get back to it when I can. So the message of today, train hard, but be smart about it. Always take care of yourself first. And thank you for being here. Have a great day.